To you, Snehi. Well, let's take a look at the Wall Street and let's see what happens, because investors are largely coming off a choppy session after a late day advance in tech shares is something that helped the major benchmarks rebound from their lows. So strong day coming in, like Snehi mentioned, and the S&P 500 ended the day higher by over 1%, even after falling more than 1% on an intraday basis as well. A first for the broader index since October 2022 as well. Now, at the same time, you did have a 30 stock Dow, and that is the one that gained about 0.3% thereabout after losing as much as 743 points earlier in the session. So quite the recovery that the Dow Jones staged there. When you take a look at the NASDAQ as well, you're looking at a close of 2% higher, making a comeback there as well from a decline of more than 1%. So quite the recovery there as well. Now, stocks dropped earlier in the day, of course, when August's consumer price index showed an uptick in core inflation, which excludes volatile food and energy prices. Now, the reading, of course, spooked investors, hoping for a 0.5 percentage point cut from the Federal Reserve at its September 17th to 18th meeting. So that is something that we were keeping in focus, and that is something that weighed on stocks just a little bit. But then after that, you did see that recovery coming in for Wall Street. Now, of course, Wall Street is anticipating the release of the August Producer Price Index, so it's not just that one data set of core inflation that we were looking for. This week, economists, of course, polled by Dow Jones, do anticipate a rise of 0.2% last month in the headline and core readings. On the earnings front, you also have Kroger that is slated to report results before the open. So that is also something that we're keeping an eye on. So that largely is the kind of handover that we're looking at when it comes to Wall Street. Let's also take a quick look at Europe then, and European stocks were mixed. And when you take a look at DAX, we're looking at 0.3% gain coming in. FTSE as well, on the flip side, you did have a decline of about 0.2%, so not much of a move coming in. But a strong recovery is what we saw for Wall Street there.
Absolutely, and equities is not the only place where we saw a strong recovery coming in. Although European market was largely mixed, we have seen some recovery coming in the oil indices as well, because you have WTI oil that's at 67.53, 0.3% uptick coming over there. Brent has managed to cross that $70 per level at 70.89 right now, inching towards that $71 per barrel level. 0.4% uptick coming over there. But overall, in yesterday's trade, US crude oil has rebounded more than 2%, regaining some ground after prices closed at the lowest level in nearly 3 years in the previous session. Now, remember that the steep sell-off that we saw on Tuesday came after OPEC lowered its demand growth outlook for the second time in 2 months, and China crude oil imports also slowed down in 2024. You also have 8 OPEC plus members that are expected to increase production in December. Now, some traders are worried about Brent prices heading towards that $60 per barrel mark, but this level of bearishness is largely unwarranted, is what we have analysts telling us. Supply and demand fundamentals point towards stockpiles falling, so largely that is what crude is doing. Quickly also, let's keep it going with crude then, and as crude prices continue to remain under pressure, that could be a silver lining for the Indian economy, since we import almost 85% of our crude requirements. It could ease the pressure on our balance sheet and the current account deficit as well. Samit joins in to explain how. Samit.
Well, Brent crude